Hello, and welcome to Boring Planet. Tonight we're turning our attention to the quiet side of Earth, the parts of this world that rarely ask for notice but shape everything around us. Long before cities, before roads, before clocks and calendars, this planet was already alive with patience. Plants have always moved at a different pace. They don't hurry, they don't chase outcomes, they respond slowly and steadily, guided by light, water, and time itself. Most of the time, we pass them by without thinking. Trees become background, grass becomes ground, leaves blur into colour, but plants are not passive. They are among the oldest living systems on Earth, quietly witnessing change on a scale that human lives barely touch. They have survived shifting continents, long winters of ice, centuries of drought, and skies that once looked nothing like they do now. Through all of it, they kept growing, resting, waiting. There is something about that kind of persistence that feels familiar to us, even if we don't always realize it. Humans evolved alongside plants. We rested in their shade, gathered near their roots, learned which ones healed and which ones harmed. Green life meant water nearby, food within reach, and shelter from the sun. Even now, when we step into a forest or sit near a garden, something in us recognizes that safety. Our bodies respond before our thoughts do. Heart rates ease, muscles soften, attention drifts. It's not because plants demand anything from us. It's because they never do. Plants exist without urgency. A leaf can spend hours turning toward the sun. A root can take days to find its way around a stone. A tree can wait decades before flowering and centuries before reaching its full height. Nothing about this is rushed, and nothing is wasted. It's simply the way life unfolds when time is allowed to stretch. Tonight, we'll slow down enough to notice that rhythm. Not to analyze it or rush through facts, but to let it carry us as the day fades. Plants all over the world are adjusting to the dark. Leaves shift their angles. Tiny openings on their surfaces close to hold onto moisture. Branches settle. Growth pauses, not as an ending, but as a rest. This is not something we usually see, but it happens every night, quietly, without announcement. As always, if you enjoy drifting off to stories of science and the natural world, subscribing helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, there's nothing you need to do. Let the day loosen its grip. Let the pace of the planet guide you instead. We'll move slowly through the hidden lives of plants, through the way they sense the world, remember change, and shape the air we breathe. This is not a journey with a destination. It's simply time spent in a world that has never been in a hurry. Let's begin. For most of human history, plants were not something we visited. They were the setting of everyday life. Long before permanent buildings or artificial light, people lived their entire days among leaves, branches, roots, and soil. Morning light filtered through canopies. Evenings cooled beneath trees. The presence of green life shaped how the world felt at every moment. Over thousands of generations, this constant exposure quietly tuned the human nervous system. It learned, slowly and without awareness, that where plants grow steadily, life is usually possible without panic. Early humans did not analyze their surroundings the way we do now. They did not think in terms of stress or relaxation, but their bodies responded to patterns. Dense plant growth often meant shade in the heat, shelter from wind, and moisture held in the ground. Open, barren landscapes could mean danger, thirst, or exposure. Over time, these associations became embedded. Green spaces did not just look different, they felt different. The body learned to ease when surrounded by leaves. That response still exists. Modern research has shown that time spent around plants can lower heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and ease the release of stress hormones. What's striking is how little exposure is needed. Even brief encounters, a view of trees through a window, a short walk past a garden, can create measurable changes. The body responds automatically. It does not wait for permission from the conscious mind. This suggests that the effect is not cultural or learned late in life. It is older than habit. Imagine a small group of people resting near the edge of a forest as the day comes to an end. The sun is lower now, its light broken into soft fragments by leaves overhead. The heat of the ground fades, insects grow quieter. The trees do not move much, but their presence fills the space. There is no sudden darkness, no sharp transitions. Everything shifts gradually. In such a place, vigilance can loosen without becoming careless. The environment itself signals that it is safe to slow down. Plants naturally create this kind of signal. Forests absorb sound rather than reflecting it. Leaves and needles scatter noise, softening sharp echoes and reducing sudden disturbances. Light arrives filtered, never harsh. Movement is slow and continuous instead of abrupt. These qualities align closely with how the human brain relaxes. Sudden changes demand attention. Gradual variation allows the mind to remain aware without tension. A branch swaying in the wind does not require action, it simply exists. Scientists studying attention have found that natural environments restore what is called directed attention, the mental energy used for focus, planning, and decision-making. Modern life drains this resource quickly. Screens, alerts, and constant choices keep the brain in a state of low-level vigilance. Green spaces, especially those rich in plant life, do the opposite. They hold interest, gently. There is always something to notice, but nothing insists on being noticed. This allows mental fatigue to ease on its own. Even the colour green plays a role. Sitting near the centre of the visible spectrum, green requires less effort for the eyes to process than many other colours. Prolonged exposure to green tones has been linked to reduced eye strain and mental exhaustion. Forests and fields are filled with repeating patterns that are never identical. Leaves echo leaves, branches echo branches. This balance between repetition and variation mirrors the way thoughts drift naturally when the mind is not under pressure. Nothing is monotonous, but nothing is overwhelming. There is also comfort in the timescale of plants. A tree that has stood for centuries has experienced far more change than any individual human ever will. It has endured droughts, storms, fires, and long periods of calm. It has grown rings through years of hardship and abundance alike. Standing near such life subtly alters perspective. Immediate concerns feel less absolute, not because they disappear, but because they are placed within a larger context. Plants offer this perspective without explanation. The calming influence of plants is not only psychological. Leaves release subtle organic compounds into the air. In forests, these compounds accumulate gently, forming part of the atmosphere itself. Studies have linked exposure to these airborne chemicals with reduced stress responses and improved immune function. The effect does not rely on awareness. The body responds simply by breathing. Muscles release tension. Breathing deepens slightly. These changes unfold without instruction or effort. Across cultures, humans have intentionally created green spaces for rest. Courtyards, groves, temple gardens, and orchards appear repeatedly throughout history. These places were not designed for speed or productivity. They were meant for sitting, walking slowly, and allowing thoughts to wander. Even Tending plants has been shown to calm the mind. The actions are repetitive and unhurried. Attention focuses on growth rather than outcome. Care is given without immediate reward. This mirrors the way plants themselves exist. Plants do not rush their responses. When light becomes scarce, they adjust gradually. When water disappears, they conserve without distress. When conditions improve, growth resumes. There is no sense of failure in this process, no urgency about what should have happened sooner. It is simply response followed by patience. Humans living among plants for most of their evolutionary history absorbed this rhythm quietly. Trees blocked wind, leaves softened rain, roots held soil together after storms. Even fallen plants returned nutrients to the ground, ensuring continuity. Modern environments often remove these signals. Smooth surfaces replace bark. Artificial light replaces dawn and dusk. Noise replaces layered quiet. Yet the nervous system remains tuned to ancient patterns. This is why even small green spaces can feel restorative. The brain recognizes cues that once meant safety and responds by easing its grip. There is no need to believe in the effect. It happens whether we think about it or not. There is also something reassuring about how plants share space. Forests are layered communities rather than collections of isolated individuals. Tall trees filter light for smaller ones. Shrubs occupy the middle ground. Mosses and fungi work quietly below. Resources move through soil and roots in ways that support the whole system. This cooperative structure creates resilience. When one plant struggles, others compensate. The system bends instead of breaking. Sitting beneath a tree, there is nothing to respond to. The tree does not react to our presence. It does not evaluate or demand attention. It continues its slow exchange of light, air, and water, regardless of what we are thinking. Over time, the body begins to match that steadiness. Muscles soften. Thoughts lose urgency. Attention widens. This is not emptiness. It is space. As night approaches, plants do not resist the change. Photosynthesis pauses. Energy use shifts. Growth slows. The transition is smooth and unforced. Watching the world move toward darkness through the presence of plants offers a model for rest without struggle. You do not need to push yourself into stillness. You follow what is already happening around you. The calm plants offer is not something new. It is recognition. We are not visitors to green spaces. We are shaped by them. When we return to their presence, even briefly, something in us remembers how to rest, not because we are told to, but because nothing around us insists that we stay awake. As we spend more time with plants, one of the first things that becomes clear is how little urgency shapes their lives. They grow, move, and respond, but they do so at a pace that rarely demands attention. This slowness is not a limitation. It is a strategy that has worked for hundreds of millions of years. Plants do not need to outrun danger or chase opportunity. Instead, they adjust gradually, guided by light, gravity, temperature, and water, unfolding their lives in increments so small we almost never notice them. If you were to sit beside a plant for an afternoon and watch closely, you might think nothing is happening at all. Leaves appear still, stems seem fixed in place. But over the course of hours, quiet changes are taking place. A leaf tilts slightly, adjusting its angle to capture more sunlight. A stem stretches upward by a fraction of a millimeter. Cells expand and contract as water moves through them. These movements are slow enough to escape casual observation, yet they are constant. Life is unfolding moment by moment, just not on a human timescale. Plants are deeply responsive to their surroundings, but their responses are rarely dramatic. When light shifts across the sky, leaves reorient themselves to follow it. This process, known as phototropism, allows plants to maximize their exposure to sunlight throughout the day. Young plants are especially sensitive to this movement, bending gradually toward the brightest source of light. The motion is so slow that it feels almost symbolic rather than physical, yet it is driven by precise biological mechanisms. Cells on one side of the stem elongate more than those on the other, creating a gentle curve. There is no rush. The plant has all day. Even at night, plants continue their subtle movements. Many leaves change position after sunset, folding inward or lowering themselves as darkness arrives. This behavior, called nyctinisty, is controlled by internal clocks that respond to changes in light and temperature. The movement does not serve an obvious purpose like capturing sunlight. Instead, it may help conserve moisture, protect delicate tissues, or simply reflect the plant's internal rhythm. These nightly adjustments happen whether anyone is watching or not. The plant does not need acknowledgement. Roots, hidden beneath the soil, move even more quietly. They navigate darkness by sensing gravity and moisture, extending slowly through tiny spaces in the earth. A root tip may spend hours growing around a small stone, redirecting itself with patience rather than force. This process is guided by cells that respond to pressure and chemical signals in the soil. Roots do not hurry toward water. They explore steadily, testing their environment inch by inch. What looks like stillness above ground is often careful movement below. This way of living stands in sharp contrast to how humans experience time. Much of modern life is shaped by deadlines, alerts, and rapid feedback. Progress is measured in minutes and hours. Plants exist outside of that framework. Their lives unfold across days, seasons, and lifetimes that stretch beyond human memory. A tree does not measure success by how quickly it grows. It grows at the pace conditions allow, year after year, ring by ring. Consider a single tree growing in a quiet forest. In its first years, it may only add a few centimeters of height each season. Its early growth is cautious, focused on building a stable root system before reaching upward. Decades pass. The tree thickens, its trunk widening slowly as layers of wood accumulate. Storms bend it. Drought narrows its growth rings. Abundant years widen them again. All of this is recorded silently in its body. There is no moment of completion. Growth is continuous but unhurried. Some trees take centuries to reach their full size. During that time, they witness changes no human lifetime can fully encompass. They stand as landscapes shift around them. Animals come and go. Human settlements rise and fall. The tree does not react to these changes with urgency. It responds only to what directly affects its survival, adjusting slowly, conserving energy when needed, growing when conditions are right. Its existence is shaped by patience rather than speed. This slow rhythm offers a kind of comfort that is easy to overlook. In a world that often equates speed with importance, plants demonstrate another way of existing. They remind us that life does not need to move quickly to be meaningful or successful. A leaf that spends all day turning toward the sun is not falling behind. A tree that takes a century to mature is not late. Their pace is simply appropriate to their form. Even processes that seem static are often in motion when viewed over longer spans of time. Grass growing in a field may appear unchanged from one day to the next, yet over weeks it thickens, spreads, and renews itself. Moss creeping across a rock does so almost invisibly, but given enough time, it transforms bare stone into living ground. These changes do not announce themselves. They accumulate quietly. Plants also respond slowly to stress, and this slowness can be protective. When faced with drought, many plants reduce growth rather than attempting to push through unfavorable conditions. They close tiny pores on their leaves to conserve water. Energy use shifts. Growth pauses. This is not failure, it is waiting. When water returns, growth resumes. There is no wasted effort in this pause. The plant has simply matched its pace to reality. Scientists have found that some plants can remember periods of stress and adjust future growth accordingly. After surviving drought, a plant may grow more conservatively in subsequent seasons, conserving resources in case conditions worsen again. This memory is not stored in a brain but in changes to cellular behavior and structure. It is another example of how plants respond thoughtfully without haste, carrying lessons forward without urgency. The slowness of plants also shapes the environments around them. Forests do not appear overnight. They emerge gradually, one generation of plants giving way to the next. Early species prepare the soil, later ones build on that foundation. Over time, a complex ecosystem forms, supported by countless slow interactions. Nothing is rushed, yet the result is remarkably stable. For humans, spending time with such slowness can feel grounding. Watching a leaf move slightly in the breeze or noticing how shadows shift across branches invites attention without demanding it. There is no climax to anticipate, no resolution required. The mind can rest in observation rather than anticipation. This kind of attention is gentle. It does not exhaust itself. Plants never hurry us. They offer a model of existence that values steadiness over speed. In their presence, time stretches. Minutes feel less compressed. Thoughts slow naturally, without effort. The world feels less insistent. This is not because plants change us directly, but because they do not compete for our attention. They allow space. As night deepens, plant movement becomes even subtler. Growth continues at a slower pace. Internal processes adjust to darkness. Energy is conserved. The visible world grows quieter, but life does not stop. It simply shifts into another mode, one that favors rest over expansion. This rhythm, repeated every day for millions of years, continues whether we notice it or not. Spending time with this way of being can gently reshape how we experience our own thoughts. We begin to accept pauses without filling them. We allow moments to stretch without needing to move through them quickly. Like plants, we respond to the present rather than rushing toward what comes next. In this slow unfolding, there is no urgency, no pressure to keep up. Life moves forward at the pace it requires, and in that steady movement, there is room to rest. As we stay with this slower way of noticing the world, another layer of plant life begins to come into view. It is not something that announces itself. There are no sudden movements or obvious signals. Most of it happens beyond our sight, beneath the surface of the ground, in spaces we rarely think about. Yet this hidden layer is alive with activity. Plants are not isolated beings, growing alone and unaware of one another. They exist in quiet relationship, constantly exchanging information in ways that do not require sound, light, or speed. In a forest, what appears above ground is only part of the story. Trunks rise into the air, branches spread outward, leaves catch the light. But below the soil, roots extend in every direction, forming a dense, overlapping network. These roots do not simply anchor plants in place. They explore, sense, and interact. They grow toward moisture, away from obstacles, and sometimes toward each other. Through these underground pathways, plants participate, in a kind of conversation that unfolds slowly and silently. One way plants communicate is through chemical signals released into the air. When a leaf is damaged by insects, it can release specific compounds that drift outward, carried by subtle air currents. Nearby plants, even of different species, can detect these chemicals and respond by adjusting their own chemistry. They may begin producing bitter substances that make their leaves less appealing to herbivores or strengthen their tissues in anticipation of damage. To us, this process is invisible. To the plants, it is information moving through space, shared without urgency. This communication is not frantic or alarmist. It unfolds at the pace of plant life. A leaf is chewed, chemicals are released. Nearby plants respond gradually, not in panic, but in preparation. There is no central command, no single leader. Each plant responds according to its own conditions, contributing to a broader pattern of resilience. The forest does not react as one organism, yet it behaves as something more than a collection of individuals. Beneath the soil, communication becomes even more intricate. Plant roots are often connected by networks of fungi that thread through the ground like fine strands. These fungi form symbiotic relationships with plants, attaching to roots and extending far beyond them. Through these networks, often called mycorrhizal networks, plants and fungi exchange resources. Plants provide sugars produced through photosynthesis. Fungi provide minerals and water gathered from the soil. This exchange benefits both, but it also creates pathways through which information and nutrients can move between plants. In some forests, older, well-established trees have been found to send carbon and other nutrients through these fungal networks to younger saplings struggling in low light. A tree growing in full sun may share excess resources with one growing in shade. When a plant becomes sick or damaged, it may receive support from its neighbours. These exchanges are not acts of generosity in a human sense. They are part of a system that favours long-term stability over short-term competition. This challenges a common assumption about nature. We often imagine life as a constant struggle, where survival depends on outcompeting others at every turn. While competition certainly exists, cooperation is just as fundamental. In plant communities, shared resources can strengthen the entire system. A forest that supports its youngest members becomes more resilient over time. When conditions change, when drought or disease strikes, interconnected systems recover more easily than isolated ones. Imagine a forest at night. Above ground, animals settle into rest. Birds quiet their calls, the air cools, leaves barely move. From the surface, everything appears still. Yet beneath the soil, roots and fungi continue their slow exchanges. Water moves from damp areas to dry ones. Minerals are traded. Chemical signals drift along fungal threads. This activity does not pause when darkness falls. It continues, steady and unseen, supporting life while the visible world sleeps. Plants also communicate directly through their roots. Roots release chemicals into the soil that can influence the growth of neighbouring plants. Some of these chemicals discourage competitors from growing too close, while others attract beneficial organisms. Roots can sense when other roots are nearby and adjust their growth accordingly. In some cases, plants have been observed growing differently when surrounded by close relatives than when surrounded by unrelated individuals. They may spread their roots less aggressively among kin, reducing competition and conserving shared resources. This kind of discrimination suggests a level of sensitivity that feels surprising only because we're not accustomed to looking for it. Plants do not need awareness, as humans understand it, to participate in complex interactions. Their bodies respond directly to chemical and physical cues, integrating information over time. What emerges is not intention, but coordination. In a meadow, grasses and wildflowers release chemicals into the soil that shape which species can grow nearby. Some plants improve soil conditions, making nutrients more available. Others stabilize the ground, preventing erosion. Over time, these interactions create patterns of growth that appear orderly, even planned. Yet no single plant controls the process. It emerges from countless small adjustments, each made slowly, each contributing to a shared outcome. This quiet cooperation extends beyond plants alone. Fungi, bacteria, insects, and microorganisms all participate in these underground systems. Together, they form communities that support life above ground. When we walk through a forest or across a field, we're moving over living networks far more complex than anything visible at the surface. Each step passes above roots, exchanging resources, fungi, carrying signals, and soil organisms breaking down matter into forms plants can use. There is something deeply calming about knowing this world exists beneath us, functioning without supervision. It does not rush, it does not demand attention. It simply continues, maintaining balance through countless slow interactions. Plants do not need to see one another to cooperate. They do not need to speak. They communicate through shared environments, through chemistry and touch, through time. This hidden layer of connection offers another perspective on stillness. What appears quiet is often active in ways we're not meant to notice. Silence does not mean absence, it means activity unfolding gently, without disruption. A forest at rest is not empty. It is full of slow work being done in darkness. As humans, we're accustomed to equating communication with sound or movement. We expect messages to be clear and immediate. Plant communication does not follow these rules. It is subtle, delayed, and distributed. A signal released now may not shape behavior until hours or days later. The response may be partial, adjusted by local conditions. This flexibility allows plant communities to adapt without overreacting. Spending time thinking about this quiet exchange can change how we experience the ground beneath us. Soil is no longer just dirt. It is a living medium filled with relationships. Roots are no longer simple anchors. They are participants in a shared system. Plants are no longer solitary figures. They are neighbours. In this way, a forest resembles a quiet neighbourhood. Each resident tends to its own needs, yet remains connected to others through shared spaces and resources. Help passes silently. Warnings drift gently. Balance is maintained without discussion. Nothing is forced. Nothing is rushed. As night deepens and the visible world grows still, these underground conversations continue at the same steady pace. Roots explore, fungi transport, chemistry flows, life supports life without ceremony. Knowing this does not require excitement or awe. It invites a softer response, a sense that much of what sustains the world happens quietly, beyond our awareness, without urgency. In that realization, there is room to rest. If the planet can sustain itself through slow, unseen cooperation, there is no need for constant effort on our part. Things can unfold without being watched. Support can exist without being asked for. Like the plants beneath the soil, we can allow ourselves to settle into stillness, trusting that life continues gently around us. As the picture of plant life grows more complete, another subtle quality begins to stand out. Plants do not merely exist and react passively. They sense their surroundings with a quiet attentiveness that does not rely on eyes, ears, or nerves as we understand them. Their awareness is distributed throughout their bodies, embedded in cells that respond to light, pressure, gravity, moisture, and change. This sensitivity is not dramatic. It unfolds slowly, guiding growth and behavior over time rather than triggering sudden action. Light is one of the most important signals plants receive. From the moment a seed germinates, its tissues begin to distinguish brightness from darkness. Specialized cells detect the direction, intensity, and duration of light, allowing the plant to orient itself toward the most reliable source of energy. Shoots grow upward and bend gently toward the sun, while roots grow downward, away from light and into the soil. This separation happens even in complete darkness, guided by gravity and internal cues. The plant does not see the sun, but it knows where light will be. Over the course of a day, many plants track the movement of the sun across the sky. Leaves and young stems slowly change their angle, maximizing exposure during morning and afternoon hours. This movement is subtle, often invisible unless observed over long periods or sped up. It is driven by changes in cell growth and water pressure, coordinated across tissues without a central controller. The plant does not hurry to keep up. It moves at the pace its structure allows, trusting the cycle to repeat tomorrow. There is something quietly remarkable about this trust. A plant does not panic when clouds block the sun. It does not rush when light fades. Its internal clocks, shaped by millions of years of repetition, anticipate the return of brightness. Growth patterns adjust accordingly. In this way, plants behave as if they remember the rhythm of days, even though they do not hold memory in the way animals do. Gravity provides another constant reference. Deep within root tips are tiny, dense structures that settle downward in response to gravity. These act as signals, telling the plant which way is down. Roots respond by growing deeper, anchoring the plant and searching for water and minerals. Shoots respond in the opposite direction, pushing upward toward light. This ability, known as gravitropism, allows plants to orient themselves even when buried beneath soil or turned on their side. The response is steady and reliable, unfolding without urgency. Touch is sensed as well. When a climbing plant encounters a support, cells on the side touching the object grow more slowly than those on the opposite side, causing the stem or tendril to curl around what it has found. This process, called thigmotropism, happens gradually, often over hours or days. The plant does not grasp. It embraces slowly, tightening its hold as it grows. The result is secure attachment without force. Even gentle, repeated touch can shape plant behavior. Some plants alter their growth patterns in windy environments, developing shorter, sturdier stems. Others respond to being brushed by animals or neighboring plants by thickening their tissues. These adjustments are not reactions to single events. They emerge from repeated signals over time, integrated into growth rather than triggering immediate movement. Beyond sensing the present, plants also carry the imprint of the past. Experiences of stress, such as drought or damage, can influence how a plant grows in the future. During dry periods, many plants slow growth and conserve resources. When water returns, they resume growth, but often in a more cautious pattern. Studies have shown that some plants exposed to drought once will respond more quickly and efficiently if drought occurs again, adjusting water use and growth habits based on previous conditions. This form of memory is not stored in a brain. It exists in changes to gene expression, cell structure, and chemical signaling. The plant's tissues behave differently because they've been shaped by experience. In this way, plants learn without awareness, adapting not through thought, but through structure. The lesson remains embedded in the body. Trees provide especially clear examples of this quiet memory. Each year, a tree adds a ring to its trunk. The width of that ring reflects conditions during that growing season. In wet, favourable years, rings are wider. In dry or stressful years, they are narrower. Over decades and centuries, these rings record a detailed history of the environment. A tree that has endured repeated droughts often grows more conservatively, limiting leaf area and adjusting water transport to reduce risk. It prepares for scarcity without anxiety. Damage leaves its mark as well. When a branch breaks or bark is injured, trees respond by sealing off the affected area and redirecting growth around it. The scar remains, but the tree continues to grow, incorporating the damage into its structure. Over time, these adjustments can change the tree's shape, strengthening it against future stress. The response is not rushed. Healing and adaptation occur over seasons, guided by internal processes rather than external urgency. There is something calming about this form of intelligence. It does not involve decision-making as humans experience it. There is no internal debate, no worry about outcomes. Plants sense, adjust, and continue. Their awareness is practical and embodied, focused entirely on staying in balance with their surroundings. Imagine a plant growing in a field where the sun rises slightly later each season. Day by day, its internal clock shifts, aligning growth patterns with changing light. Leaves open and close at different times. Stems angle differently. The plant does not need to predict the future. Its body responds to patterns as they unfold, gradually aligning itself with what is. Now imagine a tree that has lived through a long dry spell. Its growth slows, its leaves become smaller. Water transport systems adjust to reduce loss. When rain finally returns, growth resumes, but not recklessly. The tree carries the imprint of scarcity forward, shaping its future without fear. It remembers without thinking. This gentle intelligence extends throughout plant communities. When insects repeatedly attack certain plants, neighbouring plants exposed to the same signals may adjust their defences in advance. When conditions improve, these defences may relax again. The system remains flexible, responsive without being rigid. What emerges from all of this is not intelligence in the human sense, but something equally remarkable. Plants demonstrate a form of awareness that is distributed, slow, and deeply integrated with their bodies. They do not separate sensing from being. The act of growing is the act of responding. Spending time with this perspective can soften how we think about awareness itself. Intelligence does not need to be loud or fast. It does not need to announce itself. It can exist quietly, shaping form over time rather than producing immediate action. Plants embody this possibility fully. As the night continues, plants remain attentive in their own way. Internal clocks adjust to darkness. Energy use shifts. Growth patterns change subtly. Even in stillness, sensing continues. The world is monitored without effort, and responses are prepared without haste. In this quiet attentiveness, there is no rush to act and no pressure to decide. Life proceeds through small adjustments, layered over time. Watching or simply knowing this can invite a similar softness in the mind. Thoughts do not need to be resolved immediately. Feelings do not need to be analysed. Like plants, we can sense the present and allow response to unfold slowly. The intelligence of plants is not something to admire from a distance. It is something to rest alongside. It reminds us that awareness does not have to be sharp to be effective, and that patience is not the absence of action, but the presence of balance. After spending time with how plants sense and adjust to the present, it becomes easier to understand one of their most extraordinary abilities. Plants do not just respond to what is happening now, they can wait. They can pause their lives so completely that time itself seems to pass over them without consequence. Nowhere is this more evident than in seeds. A seed is not a beginning in motion, it is a beginning held still. Inside its shell lies a complete blueprint for a future plant, folded inward and protected. There are leaves waiting to unfold, roots waiting to grow downward, and stems waiting to reach upward. Yet all of this remains suspended, sometimes for years, sometimes for centuries, sometimes longer than any human life. The seed does not rush toward existence, it waits until the world is ready. Most seeds germinate quickly, responding to moisture, warmth, and light within days or weeks. But others are built for patience on a scale that feels almost unreal. Some seeds have been known to remain dormant for hundreds or even thousands of years and still grow when conditions finally allow. This is not a failure to live. It is a decision written into the seed structure, shaped by environments where survival depends on restraint rather than speed. Dormancy is often misunderstood as inactivity. In reality, it is a carefully maintained state. Inside a dormant seed, chemical processes slow to an almost imperceptible pace. Metabolism drops, energy use becomes minimal. Protective compounds shield the genetic material from damage. The seed is not asleep in the way animals sleep. It is paused, holding itself in balance, neither growing nor decaying. Imagine a seed resting beneath the soil while seasons pass above it. Rain falls and drains away. Snow settles and melts. Roots from other plants weave nearby. Insects tunnel through the ground. Above, forests change shape. Human settlements appear, expand, and disappear. Generations are born and die, yet the seed remains unchanged, sealed within its shell, unaffected by the movement of time around it. There are documented cases of seeds older than cities, older than written language, older than the idea of history itself. Some lotus seeds recovered from ancient lake beds have been dated to more than 1,000 years old and still germinated successfully. Arctic plants have been grown from seeds preserved in permafrost for tens of thousands of years. These seeds waited through ice ages, climate shifts, and vast changes in the living world, holding life quietly until conditions aligned once more. What allows this endurance is not strength in the conventional sense, but restraint. Seeds are designed to avoid reacting too quickly. Germinating at the wrong moment can be fatal. A brief rainfall followed by drought, a warm spell followed by frost, or disturbed soil that soon becomes hostile can all doom a young plant. By delaying growth, seeds reduce risk. They allow the environment to prove itself before committing to life. This patience reflects a deep trust in time. A seed does not know what will come next, but it is prepared to wait as long as necessary. There is no anxiety in this waiting, no sense of loss. The future is not something the seed worries about. It simply remains intact, ready. Seeds also respond to very specific signals. Some require light, others darkness. Some need cold periods before warmth. Others only germinate after fire has passed through the land. Smoke chemicals, heat, or changes in soil chemistry can all serve as cues. These requirements ensure that growth begins only when conditions suggest a higher chance of survival. The seed is not passive. It is attentive, listening quietly for the right combination of signals. In ecosystems shaped by fire, such as grasslands or certain forests, seeds may remain dormant for years until flames clear away competition and release nutrients into the soil. When the ground cools and rain returns, Seeds respond, together carpeting the land with new growth. What looks like sudden abundance is the result of long waiting. Life appears all at once because it has been preparing in stillness. There is something deeply calming about this approach to existence. Seeds do not measure time in urgency. They do not hurry to become what they will be. They accept delay as part of life. In a world that often treats waiting as wasted time, seeds demonstrate that waiting can be the work itself. Consider the ground beneath your feet. Beneath lawns, forests, fields, and even cracks in pavement, seeds lie scattered. Some are recent. Others may have been there for decades. They rest quietly, unaffected by footsteps above them. The surface world moves quickly, but below, time stretches and softens. Seeds also remind us that life does not need constant motion to remain alive. Pausing is not the opposite of living. It is one of its strategies. By slowing internal processes almost to nothing, seeds preserve possibility. They carry life forward not through action, but through stillness. This idea connects gently back to everything plants do. The slow movements, the gradual responses, the quiet communication, and the embodied awareness all point toward a way of being that does not fear time. Plants do not try to outrun change. They move with it, sometimes by growing, sometimes by waiting. Even after a seed germinates, this patience remains visible. Many young plants grow cautiously, investing first in roots rather than leaves. They secure their foundation before reaching upward. Growth is measured. Resources are conserved. Nothing is rushed, because rushing would offer no advantage. For humans, the image of a seed waiting beneath the soil can be unexpectedly soothing. It suggests that not everything needs to happen now, that progress can be invisible for long periods without being lost, that life can pause without fear of disappearing. As night continues and the world grows quieter, it becomes easier to imagine this hidden stillness beneath us. Beneath beds, streets, and forests, seeds wait. They are not asleep, they are not gone. They are simply holding themselves gently, prepared for a future that will arrive in its own time. In this quiet waiting, there is no tension, no effort, no demand. The seed trusts the world enough to remain still. It carries life forward without urgency, offering a model of patience that feels almost forgotten in faster times. Knowing this, it becomes easier to let go of the need to rush through moments. Like a seed, you do not need to act right now. You can rest where you are, allowing time to pass without pressure, trusting that when conditions are right, movement will come naturally. Under the cover of darkness, the plant world does not fall silent or inactive. It simply slips into a different rhythm, one that matches the cooling air and the softening of light. What felt lively and expansive during the day becomes inward and calm at night. The same leaves that spent hours tracking the sun now begin to ease themselves into new positions, responding to cues so subtle we rarely notice them unless we're looking closely or staying still for a long time. In a forest at night, there is a sense that the whole place is breathing more slowly. Branches that were held firm and open during the day relax just slightly. Leaves tilt or fold, not all at once, but gradually, each one responding to small internal changes in water pressure and chemistry. These movements are guided by internal clocks that have evolved to follow the daily cycle of light and dark. The plant does not wait to be told that it is night. It knows, and it adjusts. Scientists have measured these changes with sensitive instruments and discovered that many trees lower their branches during the night by a small but consistent amount. The movement is often just a few centimeters, invisible to the casual observer. Yet across an entire forest, this gentle lowering creates a subtle shift in posture, as if the trees themselves are settling in. Some researchers believe this may help trees conserve energy or rebalance the movement of water within their tissues after a day of photosynthesis. Whatever the exact reason, the effect is unmistakably calm. Leaves are especially responsive to nightfall. Many plants display a behavior known as nyctinisty, where leaves change position in response to darkness. Some fold inward, others droop downward, and some rotate slightly to reduce exposure to cold air or moisture. These movements are not reactions to danger. They are part of a routine that has been repeated for countless nights. Darkness arrives, and the plant shifts smoothly into its nighttime form. Flowers follow their own nocturnal patterns. While many blossoms close their petals as evening approaches, protecting their reproductive parts from cold and moisture, others wait for night to open. Night-blooming flowers such as moonflowers, evening primroses, and certain cacti unfurl slowly after sunset. Their petals separate with no urgency, revealing pale surfaces that reflect even faint light. At the same time, these flowers release fragrances that travel farther in cool, still air, attracting moths and other nocturnal pollinators. The scent of night-blooming flowers is often richer and deeper than daytime fragrances. Without the heat of the sun, the air holds these smells longer, allowing them to drift gently through the darkness. For humans who happen to pass by, these scents can feel unexpectedly soothing. They're not sharp or overpowering. They seem to belong to the night itself, part of the quiet atmosphere rather than an intrusion into it. Temperature plays a central role in shaping nighttime plant life. As the air cools, chemical reactions inside plants slow down. Growth hormones decrease in activity, while maintenance processes take precedence. Water movement through stems and leaves becomes more controlled, reducing the risk of damage from cold or dehydration. These shifts do not signal an end to life's activity, but a rebalancing of priorities. The plant conserves what it has gathered during the day, preparing quietly for morning. Moonlight, though far weaker than sunlight, still carries information. Some plants are sensitive to the subtle changes in light that come with the lunar cycle. While moonlight alone does not drive photosynthesis, it can influence flowering times, growth patterns, and internal rhythms in certain species. The presence or absence of moonlight helps reinforce the plant's sense of time, layering another rhythm onto the daily cycle. In a forest lit only by the moon, shapes soften and edges blur. Leaves become dark, silhouettes against the sky. Movement is reduced to the occasional sway of a branch in the breeze. This visual simplicity encourages a different kind of awareness. Without bright colours or sharp contrasts, attention broadens. The mind does not latch onto details. It rests in the overall scene. Beneath the surface, plant activity continues uninterrupted. Roots keep absorbing water and minerals from the soil. Fungal networks remain active, transporting nutrients and signals between plants. Cells repair damage from the day, replacing worn components and maintaining internal balance. All of this happens quietly, without visible motion. The ground beneath the forest at night is as alive as it was during the day, though its work is hidden. This hidden continuity adds to the sense of calm. Nothing is truly stopping. Life is simply shifting gears. Plants have always lived this way, alternating between outward growth and inward maintenance. They do not resist night or treat it as an obstacle. Darkness is a familiar part of their world, as essential as daylight. For humans, being around plants at night can make this transition easier to feel. Gardens, parks, and tree-lined streets soften as evening deepens. Sounds are absorbed by leaves and soil. Artificial lights are filtered through branches. The presence of plants helps ease the sharp edges of nighttime environments, creating pockets of quiet even in busy places. There is also something comforting about knowing that plants are not alone in the dark. Animals settle into rest, insects quiet their movements, and the air cools steadily. The whole ecosystem shifts together. Plants are not left behind or forgotten when the sun goes down. They are active participants in the night, responding and adjusting in their own gentle ways. As hours pass, the nighttime posture of plants remains stable. Leaves hold their resting positions, branches stay lowered. Growth remains slow. There is no anticipation of morning, no impatience. The plant's internal clock keeps time without anxiety, knowing that light will return as it always has. This steady acceptance of night offers a subtle lesson. Rest does not require complete stillness, only a change in focus. Plants do not shut down, they redirect energy inward. In the same way, the human mind can soften its attention without losing awareness. Thoughts can slow without disappearing. Awareness can widen without effort. Standing or sitting near plants at night, it becomes easier to sense this shared rhythm. Breathing naturally deepens, muscles release tension, the urge to act or plan fades slightly. Nothing in the environment demands immediate response. Plants do not ask for attention. They simply continue their quiet routines. Even indoors, houseplants follow these cycles. Leaves adjust to reduced light. Growth pauses. Internal processes shift. Though separated from their natural environment, they still respond to the rhythm of night and day, carrying ancient patterns into modern spaces. As the night deepens further, the world feels held rather than empty. Leaves rest as the world sleeps. Roots continue their slow work below. Flowers open or close according to their own schedules. The forest, the garden, and the field all settle into a calm that has been practiced for millions of years. In this calm, there is no pressure to remain alert. Like the plants around you, you are allowed to follow the night where it leads, easing into stillness without effort, knowing that rest is simply another part of the cycle and that morning will arrive in its own time. As night deepens and the world cools, it becomes clearer that plants are not passive occupants of their environments. They actively shape the conditions around them, creating comfort and stability in ways that feel almost gentle in their restraint. This self-regulation is not hurried or dramatic. It unfolds slowly, guided by physical laws and biological memory, allowing plants to endure extremes without panic or waste. In colder climates, some plants have learned to generate warmth from within. Certain flowers, especially those that bloom early in spring, are capable of producing heat by accelerating their internal metabolism. The skunk cabbage is one such plant, able to raise the temperature of its flowering structure enough to melt surrounding snow. This warmth is not produced for show. It helps spread scent through cold air and attracts pollinators when few other flowers are available. To stand near such a plant on a cold morning is to witness a quiet defiance of the season, a small pocket of warmth held steadily against the chill. The process itself is slow and controlled. Heat is generated gradually, without spikes or excess. The plant balances energy use carefully, producing just enough warmth to meet its needs. There is no urgency in this act, only precision. The warmth does not linger longer than necessary. When conditions change, the process eases naturally, allowing the plant to return to equilibrium. Leaves, too, are masters of comfort creation. In intense heat, Many plants adjust the angle of their leaves to reduce exposure to direct sunlight. By tilting slightly or folding inward, they limit water loss and prevent damage from overheating. Some leaves are coated with fine hairs or waxy layers that reflect sunlight, creating a barrier between delicate tissues and harsh conditions. These adaptations do not require rapid movement. They're built into the structure of the leaf itself, offering protection without effort. In cold environments, leaves and stems may produce compounds that act like antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from forming inside cells. This allows plants to survive freezing temperatures without injury. Evergreen trees, with their needle-like leaves, reduce surface area and retain moisture, maintaining internal stability through winter months. Snow may settle on their branches, but beneath it, tissues remain protected, insulated by form rather than force. Water storage offers another example of patient self-regulation. In deserts, where rainfall is unpredictable, plants such as cacti and succulents have evolved to store water within their tissues. When rain finally arrives, these plants absorb as much as they can, swelling slowly as reserves build. Once stored, the water is used sparingly, sometimes sustaining the plant for years without additional moisture. There's no rush to grow quickly after rain. The plant's priority is survival, not expansion. A cactus standing alone in a dry landscape embodies this: patience. Its thick skin reduces evaporation. Its spines provide shade and deter animals. Inside, water is held quietly, released only when necessary. The cactus does not respond to drought with desperation. It waits, trusting that its preparation will be enough. This trust is not optimism. It is design refined over countless generations. Plants also regulate their internal temperature and moisture through subtle daily adjustments. Stomata, tiny pores on leaves, open and close in response to light, humidity, and carbon dioxide levels. During the day, they open to allow gas exchange for photosynthesis. At night or during extreme heat, they close to conserve water. This regulation happens continuously, without conscious control, maintaining balance moment by moment. Even roots participate in comfort creation. By growing deeper or spreading wider, they access water sources that remain stable despite surface conditions. In flooded soils, some plants develop specialized roots that rise above the ground, allowing them to breathe in oxygen-rich air. These adaptations transform challenging environments into livable spaces, not by altering the environment, but by adjusting the plant's relationship to it. There is something deeply reassuring in the way plants meet discomfort. They do not fight conditions they cannot change. Instead, they adapt quietly, shaping themselves to fit the world as it is. This approach creates stability not just for the plant, but for the ecosystem around it. Shade from leaves cools the ground. Roots stabilize soil. Moisture held in plant tissues moderates local climates. Comfort is shared, not hoarded. At night, these adaptations become more apparent. As temperatures drop, plants rely on the structures they have built over time. Leaves hold heat close to stems. Stored water releases warmth slowly. Internal processes shift to maintenance rather than growth. The plant settles into a state that feels protected, even as the environment cools. This ability to create comfort without urgency offers a quiet lesson. Safety does not always come from control or speed. Sometimes it comes from preparation and patience. Plants invest in structures and behaviors that support them over long periods, reducing the need for constant reaction. In forests, this collective comfort becomes communal. Canopies buffer temperature extremes. Understory plants benefit from moderated light and moisture. Soil retains warmth beneath layers of leaves and roots. The entire system works together to soften the environment, making it more hospitable for all its inhabitants. As you consider this, it becomes easier to feel held by the world rather than exposed to it. Plants around you are constantly adjusting, maintaining balance without demanding attention. Their quiet work creates a background of stability that has existed long before human awareness. Even indoors, plants bring a trace of this comfort. Houseplants release moisture into dry air, soften acoustics, and introduce natural rhythms into artificial spaces. They do not transform environments dramatically, but their presence gently alters how a space feels, making it calmer and more breathable. The longer one reflects on these adaptations, the more they feel like expressions of care rather than survival tactics. Plants look after themselves in ways that are calm and measured, never rushed. They respond to extremes with moderation, choosing balance over excess. As night continues, this self-created comfort allows plants to rest without fear. They are prepared for cold, darkness, and stillness. Their structures hold them steady. Their reserves sustain them. Nothing needs to be done in the moment. In this shared quiet, it becomes easier to allow yourself the same ease. Like a plant, you do not need to solve everything now. You can trust in what has already been built, in the systems that support you quietly, without effort. Comfort does not have to be dramatic to be real. Sometimes it is found in slow adjustments, steady reserves, and the confidence to wait. Plants have practiced this art for millions of years, and in their presence, it becomes possible to rest within it too. Long before anyone ever named a forest or measured a tree, life learned that the safest place to build strength was out of sight. Beneath the surface of the ground, where light never reaches and time feels thicker, roots began their quiet work. They did not hurry. They did not need to. Nothing underground asks for speed. The soil rewards patience, and roots learn that lesson early. Every plant that has ever lived carries this memory forward, extending itself downward before it ever reaches for the sky. A seed does not begin by dreaming of leaves or flowers, it begins by anchoring. The first root slips into the darkness, guided by gravity, moisture, and the faint chemical signals left behind by generations before it. It does not know what it will become, it only knows which direction leads to stability. As it grows, the root encounters resistance almost immediately. Stones press back, clay tightens, dry pockets offer nothing, and so the root adjusts, bending slightly, slowing, choosing paths that offer less struggle. This is not decision-making as we understand it, but it produces something that feels intentional when watched over time. Growth underground is a negotiation, not a conquest. Roots do not force their way through the earth, they listen to it. Over days and weeks, the root tip senses tiny gradients of moisture, differences so subtle they escape any surface awareness. Water leaves faint chemical signatures as it moves through soil, and roots follow these traces patiently, sometimes advancing only a few millimeters in a day. There is no reward for rushing. A wrong turn costs energy that cannot be wasted. So roots learn restraint. Some spread outward, close to the surface, forming wide, shallow networks that catch rain before it evaporates. Others commit to depth, pushing downward for years, sometimes decades, searching for water that never fully disappears. In deserts and dry plains, certain trees send roots deeper than buildings rise, passing layers of soil that have not felt rain in centuries. These roots grow during rare wet seasons and pause when the ground hardens, holding their place without retreat. Progress is slow, but it is permanent. When water is finally reached, the connection holds for a lifetime. From that moment on, leaves far above can remain green even as the surface world dries and cracks. Water begins its silent journey upward through microscopic vessels, lifted not by force, but by cohesion, each molecule pulling the next in a continuous chain. Evaporation at the leaves creates a gentle tension that draws water from the depths, a process so steady and quiet it has no sound. The tallest trees on Earth depend on this invisible column of water, rising hundreds of feet without pumps, engines, or urgency. And all of it begins below, where the roots secured access long before it was needed. Roots do more than drink. They hold. When wind moves through a forest, trunks sway and branches bend, but trees rarely fall without warning. Underground, roots distribute force across vast networks, gripping soil from multiple angles, yielding slightly rather than snapping. This flexibility is what keeps forests standing through storms that would tear rigid structures apart. Strength underground is not stiffness, it is balance. Over time, roots reshape the soil itself. As they grow, they create channels that allow air and water to move deeper into the ground. When roots die, these channels remain, improving the soil for whatever comes next. Earth becomes softer, more breathable, more capable of holding life. Entire ecosystems depend on this slow engineering. Hillsides resist erosion because roots bind particles together. Forest floors absorb rainfall gradually, feeding streams long after storms have passed. The calm stability of natural landscapes is built invisibly, layer by layer, by roots that never see the surface they protect. In grasslands, roots store energy underground, holding reserves of sugars and nutrients safe from fire and frost. When flames sweep across the land, the surface world disappears almost instantly, yet beneath the ash, life remains intact. Weeks later, green returns not because it is fast, but because it was prepared. This pattern repeats across time. Destruction above rarely reaches what was secured below. Even in wetlands and flooded forests, roots adapt rather than retreat. Mangroves send up breathing roots that rise above water like quiet sentinels, drawing oxygen directly from the air. In oxygen-poor mud, other trees form hollow channels inside their roots, allowing gases to move downward from the surface. These adaptations were not planned. They were discovered slowly, through countless generations of survival and failure, refined until they simply worked. Roots are never alone in this process. They exist within dense underground communities where fungi, bacteria, and other roots exchange resources constantly. Through mycorrhizal networks, water, minerals, and carbon move between plants, often favoring the young or the stressed. A tree growing in sunlight may feed another in shade. A plant near water may support one farther away. These exchanges happen without awareness, without recognition, yet they stabilize entire forests. Underground, competition softens into cooperation because survival favors balance over dominance. In some forests, roots even fuse together physically, forming living connections between trees. Through these grafts, nutrients pass directly from one organism to another. Above ground, each tree appears separate. Below ground, the forest behaves more like a shared body, distributing resources where they are most needed. This hidden unity explains why forests can endure disturbances that would devastate isolated plants. They are supported from beneath by systems older and wiser than any single trunk. Roots also respond to sound and vibration. Experiments have shown that some roots grow toward the low-frequency vibrations of moving water, even before moisture arrives. The vibration alone is enough to guide growth. This sensitivity allows roots to anticipate the future rather than react to the present, positioning themselves where life is likely to flow. Again, there's no urgency, just attention. What makes roots remarkable is not complexity but consistency. They do not chase opportunity, they invest in presence. They do not abandon dry soil in panic. They wait, they adjust, they hold their place until conditions change. Over years and centuries, this patience builds foundations strong enough to support entire ecosystems, climates, and civilizations. When we walk across the land, we rarely consider how much is happening beneath our feet. Roots pass under paths, roads, and foundations, navigating obstacles laid down long before the plant existed. They grow beneath footsteps, indifferent to surface noise, committed only to the slow work of holding life steady. There is something deeply calming in this. The most important work is rarely visible. Stability does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It simply remains, holding everything in place while the surface world changes again and again. Plants have endured ice ages, droughts, and fire not by resisting every challenge, but by anchoring themselves where time moves slowly and change arrives gently. They built their strength downward, trusting that what was secured in darkness would support everything that followed above. And from that unseen foundation, life continues to rise, free to sway, grow, and adapt, knowing that what holds it steady has already been patiently prepared. Under a forest canopy, air behaves differently. It slows down, cools, thickens slightly, as if it has learned to linger. Leaves intercept sunlight before it ever reaches the ground, breaking harsh rays into a softer green glow, and in doing so they also shape the movement of heat and moisture. Each leaf is not only a surface for photosynthesis, but a quiet exchange point between the living world and the sky above it. Through tiny pores, invisible to the eye, water vapor drifts upward in a steady, patient release. This process, known as transpiration, happens continuously, without pause or announcement. A single tree can release hundreds of liters of water into the air in a single day, not in bursts, but as a constant exhale. Multiply that by thousands, then millions of trees, and a forest becomes something more than land covered in plants. It becomes a breathing system. As water vapor rises from leaves, it cools the surrounding air. This cooling creates subtle pressure changes that draw in more air from nearby areas, setting gentle currents in motion. Over vast forested regions, these small movements combine into something powerful enough to influence entire weather systems. The forest does not wait for rain. In many cases, it helps make it. Moist air rising from leaves condenses as it cools, forming clouds that eventually release their water back to the land. Rain, in this sense, does not simply fall from the sky. It begins in the quiet work of leaves. At night, this process feels even more pronounced. As temperatures drop, transpiration slows slightly, and moisture gathers closer to the canopy. The air becomes heavy with scent, a mixture of damp earth, sap, and living tissue. This fragrance is not accidental. Trees release organic compounds into the atmosphere that serve many purposes, from protecting leaves to communicating stress, but they also interact with airborne particles, encouraging the formation of cloud droplets. A forest at night is not silent. It is breathing slowly, shaping the air one molecule at a time. Long before humans measured humidity or mapped wind patterns, forests were already regulating climates. In tropical regions, dense rainforests recycle rainfall repeatedly. Water evaporates from the ocean, falls as rain, is absorbed by trees, released again into the air and falls once more further inland. This recycling can happen several times before the moisture ever reaches dry ground. Remove the trees, and the cycle weakens. Moisture escapes. Rain becomes unreliable. Landscapes that were once green begin to dry. The stability of the climate is tied not to machines or infrastructure, but to the presence of living canopies quietly performing their work. Even outside the tropics, forests soften extremes. They cool hot days, retain warmth at night, and buffer winds that would otherwise strip moisture from the land. Snow lingers longer beneath trees, melting gradually instead of rushing downhill all at once. Streams fed by forested watersheds flow more steadily, less prone to sudden floods or long droughts. All of this happens without coordination, without intention, as the natural outcome of countless leaves doing what they have always done. Forests also clean the air as they shape it. As air moves through branches and foliage, particles collide with leaf surfaces and settle. Dust, pollen, and pollutants are captured and eventually washed to the ground by rain. Gases that would otherwise linger are absorbed and transformed. Carbon dioxide is taken in, oxygen released, but the exchange does not end there. Forest soils store vast amounts of carbon as well, locking it away through roots and microbial activity. In this way, forests act as long-term regulators, smoothing the sharp edges of change over centuries rather than moments. To stand in a forest is to stand inside a system that has learned how to care for itself. Nothing appears to be happening quickly, yet everything is in motion. Air circulates gently. Moisture rises and falls. Temperatures adjust without effort. It is a kind of environmental breathing that mirrors the slow, steady rhythm of rest. This may be why forests feel instinctively calming. The human nervous system evolved in landscapes where these rhythms were present, where shade and moisture meant safety, and where sudden extremes were rare. The body recognizes the pattern even if the mind does not. At night, when human activity recedes, the forest's influence becomes easier to sense. Without heat from the sun, air cools and settles. Moisture released earlier condenses into dew, coating leaves with fine droplets that reflect faint light. This water did not arrive suddenly. It gathered slowly, molecule by molecule, as the forest exhaled throughout the day. Even in places far from dense woodland, individual trees perform the same quiet service. A single oak in a field releases moisture, cools its surroundings, shelters soil organisms and alters airflow around it. Urban trees do this as well, creating pockets of cooler air in cities, reducing heat stress for people and animals alike. Though surrounded by concrete and noise, the tree continues its ancient work, indifferent to its setting. Forests also influence the timing of weather. Research has shown that regions downwind of large forested areas receive more consistent rainfall than those upwind. The trees act like a pump, drawing moist air inward and upward. This does not happen through force, but through countless small exchanges that add up over distance and time. Again, the pattern repeats. Small, steady actions produce large, lasting effects. When forests are lost, the air changes first. Winds become harsher. Temperatures fluctuate more sharply. Moisture leaves the land more quickly. These changes often go unnoticed at first because they unfold slowly, but they accumulate. Over decades, entire climates shift. This is not because forests were dramatic or powerful in an obvious way, but because their quiet influence was removed. They were holding things together without being seen. There is a comfort in knowing that such stability exists, that the planet is supported not only by grand forces like oceans and tectonic plates, but by leaves releasing water into the air, one breath at a time. A forest does not need to be awake to do this work. It continues through the night, adjusting, balancing, releasing, and holding as needed. In that sense, the forest never truly rests. It simply slows, maintaining equilibrium while the rest of the world sleeps. If you imagine standing beneath tall trees at night, you might picture the air moving gently upward, carrying the day's warmth and moisture into the dark sky. Somewhere above, clouds begin to form, shaped by the combined breath of countless leaves. Hours later, rain may fall miles away, feeding soil, filling streams, sustaining life that will never know where its water truly began. All of it traces back to this quiet exchange between leaf and air. Forests do not demand recognition for this role. They do not signal when they're working well. They simply continue, shaping the planet through patience and presence. And as you remain still, letting thoughts slow, it can be comforting to remember that while so much of the world feels fast and unsettled, there are places where balance is maintained without effort, where the air itself is guided gently by living things that have been doing this for millions of years. There are living things on this planet that began their lives before human language had words for time. Long before borders were drawn, before cities rose and fell, before stone was shaped into tools or monuments, some plants were already rooted in place, quietly adding one ring at a time to their bodies. To stand near one of these ancient plants is to feel time slow in a way nothing else quite achieves. Their presence does not demand attention, yet it reshapes perspective simply by existing. A tree that has lived for thousands of years has experienced more change than any story can fully contain, and yet it remains where it began, responding to each passing century with the same patient growth. Consider a bristlecone pine high in the mountains, growing where soil is thin and wind is constant. These trees are among the oldest living organisms on Earth, some more than 4,000 years old. When they first pushed their roots into rocky ground, human civilization as we know it had not yet begun. They grew through ages of warmth and cold, through volcanic ash settling on distant lands, through glaciers advancing and retreating. Each year they added a ring so thin it is almost difficult to see, a record not of ambition, but of endurance. Their wood grows slowly, densely, making them resistant to decay. Damage does not spread easily through their bodies. When part of the tree is injured, growth simply shifts elsewhere. Survival for them is not about perfection, but about persistence. Across the world, other ancient plants tell similar stories. Giant sequoias began growing while ancient humans were still learning how to shape stone. Olive trees in the Mediterranean have lived through the rise and fall of empires, through wars, migrations, and cultural revolutions. Some still bear fruit season after season, without any awareness of how many generations have passed beneath their branches. They have stood through fires that scorched the land, floods that reshaped, valleys and droughts that lasted longer than most human lifetimes. Their survival does not come from resisting change, but from accommodating it. Fire scars their bark, but does not end them. After flames pass, they continue growing, sealing wounds slowly, ring by ring. Ice ages tested plants in different ways. As climates cooled, forests retreated southward, seeds carried by wind, water, and animals to new refuges. Some plants adapted in place, developing antifreeze proteins in their cells, altering leaf shapes, slowing metabolism to endure long frozen seasons. Others vanished entirely, leaving only fossils behind. The plants that remain today are not just survivors by chance. They are the result of countless small adjustments accumulated over immense spans of time. Each adaptation is written into their structure, invisible to casual observation, yet essential to their continued existence. What makes these ancient plants especially calming to think about is the scale on which they operate. Their sense of time is not measured in days or years, but in centuries. A drought lasting 10 years is not an emergency. A fire that returns every few decades is not unexpected. These are simply events to be absorbed and remembered in the body of the plant. Trees carry these memories in their rings. Narrow rings mark years of scarcity. Wider rings reflect abundance. Scars reveal past fires, lightning strikes, insect outbreaks. To scientists, these rings are data. To the tree, they are just part of its shape, part of its ongoing conversation with the environment. Nothing is erased. Everything is integrated. Imagine standing beside a tree that sprouted when ancient civilizations were just beginning to form. As humans learned to farm, to build, to write, this tree was growing quietly, unaware of any of it. As kingdoms rose and fell, as borders shifted and languages disappeared, the tree continued responding to rain and sunlight in the same way it always had. It did not celebrate triumphs or mourn losses. It simply remained. This is not indifference. It is a different relationship with time altogether. Even plants that do not live for millennia participate in deep time. Some species persist through clonal growth, sending up new stems from ancient root systems that can be tens of thousands of years old. Above ground, individual trunks come and go. Below ground, the organism continues uninterrupted. What looks like a forest of many trees may in fact be a single living being, quietly renewing itself as parts wear out. This blurs the idea of individuality. The plant is not concerned with the lifespan of any one stem. It is concerned with continuity. Fires play a role in this story as well. Many ancient plant species evolved alongside fire, not despite it. Thick bark protects living tissue. Seeds remain dormant until heat cracks them open. After a fire clears competing vegetation, new growth emerges from ash-rich soil. To humans, fire often signals destruction. To these plants, it is part of a long rhythm, something to be endured and even used. The calm with which plants meet such events is striking. There is no panic, no urgency, only response shaped by memory encoded in biology. Time, for plants, is layered. The present moment exists alongside traces of the past and preparations for the future. A tree growing today is still shaped by conditions that occurred centuries ago, and its structure will influence what can survive around it long after current conditions have changed. Shade patterns affect which seedlings take root. Leaf litter shapes soil chemistry. Roots guide water flow underground. In this way, ancient plants act as anchors in time, stabilizing ecosystems across generations. This stability has a quiet effect on the human mind. When thoughts feel scattered or hurried, considering a life form that has endured for thousands of years without moving can slow mental noise. It places current worries into a broader context, not by minimizing them, but by reminding us that change is not inherently dangerous. The world has always been in motion, and yet life continues, adapting gently, often invisibly. Ancient plants do not hurry because they do not need to. Their success is measured not by speed, but by presence. They invest in slow growth, strong foundations, and the ability to absorb disturbance without losing form. In a world that often rewards urgency, this alternative strategy feels grounding. It suggests that there is value in remaining steady, in responding rather than reacting, in allowing time to do its work. Standing near an ancient tree, it is easy to imagine all that has happened while it stood there. Storms have passed overhead. Animals have come and gone. Entire landscapes have shifted subtly around it, yet the tree remains, still adding rings, still reaching for light, still drawing water from the same soil. It does not hold on to the past, nor does it rush toward the future. It exists fully in the present, shaped by everything that came before. This is perhaps the quiet lesson ancient plants offer. Survival does not require constant vigilance. Endurance can be gentle. Time does not need to be conquered or controlled. It can simply be inhabited, one slow moment at a time, while the world continues to change around you. Life does not always survive by pushing forward. Often it survives by waiting, by yielding, by becoming smaller and quieter until conditions soften again. This is one of the gentlest truths written into the green world. Plants do not fight hardship in the way animals do. They do not flee from drought or darkness. Instead, they change their pace. They slow processes almost to stillness. They hold what they have. They endure without announcing it. In dry seasons, leaves may fall, growth may pause, colour may fade, but life remains present, folded inward, conserving energy with remarkable discipline. When water disappears from the surface, roots continue to search patiently below. When cold arrives, chemistry shifts inside cells, sugars and proteins rearranging themselves to prevent damage. Nothing about this endurance is dramatic. It is careful, deliberate, and quiet. Consider moss, often overlooked because of its size, yet among the most resilient forms of plant life on Earth. Mosses can dry out almost completely, losing nearly all the water from their tissues, becoming brittle and brown, appearing lifeless. In this state, their metabolism slows to a near halt. Days pass, weeks, sometimes years. And then rain arrives. Moisture seeps into the cells, and within hours the moss softens, turns green, and resumes photosynthesis as if nothing had happened. There is no recovery period, no visible struggle. Life simply continues from where it paused. This ability to endure extreme dryness without permanent damage is not rare among plants. Many seeds, spores, and tissues rely on the same principle. Life can wait without fear. In cold environments, plants face a different challenge. Ice crystals can rupture cells, destroying tissue from within. To survive freezing temperatures, many plants produce natural antifreeze compounds that prevent ice from forming inside their cells. Others alter the structure of their membranes, making them more flexible under stress. Evergreen needles, for example, are narrow and coated with wax, reducing surface area and water loss, allowing them to endure cold winds and snow without damage. When winter settles in, growth slows, but life does not stop. Beneath frozen soil, roots remain intact, protected by insulating layers of earth and snow. When warmth returns, growth resumes gradually, without urgency. Darkness presents yet another test. In caves, under thick canopies, or beneath snowpack, light may be scarce or absent for long periods. Some plants respond by stretching toward any available light, elongating stems slowly over time. Others adapt by lowering their energy needs, surviving on stored resources until conditions improve. Certain algae and mosses can photosynthesize at extremely low light levels, capturing photons that barely register to the human eye. They do not demand abundance, they make use of what is available. This pattern repeats across ecosystems. In deserts, succulents store water in swollen tissues, expanding after rare rains and contracting slowly over months or years. Their growth is not constant. It arrives in brief pulses, followed by long periods of stillness. In tundra environments, plants hug the ground, avoiding wind and conserving heat. growing only a few centimeters over decades. In rainforests, seedlings may wait years in deep shade, barely growing at all, until a tree falls and light finally reaches them. Then, slowly, they respond. What unites these strategies is restraint. Plants do not waste energy on constant activity. They invest in durability. They build systems that can pause safely, resume gently, and persist across unpredictable conditions. This is resilience without aggression. There is no sense of struggle in the way plants endure hardship. They do not resist reality. They adjust to it. When conditions worsen, they do less. When conditions improve, they do more. The transition is smooth, almost imperceptible. Even after severe disturbances, recovery unfolds quietly. After fire, charred landscapes may appear empty, but beneath the surface, roots and seeds remain. Ash enriches the soil. Sunlight reaches the ground more easily. Slowly green returns, first as tiny shoots, then as grasses, shrubs, and eventually trees. There is no rush to restore what was lost. Succession follows its own pace, measured in years and decades. Each stage prepares the ground for the next. This slow rebuilding is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of stability. Plants do not aim to return to what was before, they move forward into what is possible now. Quiet endurance also shows itself in the way plants handle damage. When a branch breaks, a tree does not attempt to replace it immediately. Growth shifts elsewhere. Wounds are sealed gradually with layers of protective tissue. The shape of the plant changes, accommodating loss without collapse. In grasses and many perennials, damage above ground often stimulates growth below. Roots expand, strengthening the plant for future seasons. The response is not emotional or reactive, it is structural. Over time, these adjustments accumulate, creating forms that reflect history without being defined by it. This quality of resilience is deeply calming because it offers an alternative model of survival, one that does not rely on constant effort or vigilance. Plants demonstrate that it is possible to endure by softening, by conserving, by trusting time. Growth does not have to be forceful to be successful. Sometimes it is enough to remain present, maintaining internal balance until the environment changes. Even in human-altered landscapes, plants continue this quiet work. Cracks in pavement host grasses and weeds that survive heat, pollution, and neglect. Urban trees endure compacted soil, limited water, and fluctuating temperatures, adjusting growth patterns to fit constrained spaces. They do not thrive in the same way they might in forests, yet they persist, offering shade, cooling air, and stabilizing soil despite difficult conditions. Their presence reminds us that resilience does not require ideal circumstances, it requires flexibility. When rain finally returns after drought, the response is subtle. Leaves unfurl, cells rehydrate, growth resumes at a measured pace. There is no explosion of activity, no dramatic transformation. Life simply continues. This gentleness is part of what makes the green world so reassuring. It suggests that recovery does not need to be loud or fast to be real. Healing can happen quietly, one small adjustment at a time. As you reflect on this, it may feel easier to allow your own thoughts to slow, to recognize that rest is not failure, that pausing does not mean giving up. The plants around us embody this truth constantly, enduring extremes not by pushing harder, but by becoming patient. They remind us that life does not demand constant motion. It allows stillness, it allows waiting. And when the moment is right, it allows gentle return. Plants never try to become still. Stillness arrives naturally when nothing is pulling at them. When the sun lowers, leaves do not make a decision to stop moving toward light. They simply no longer receive the signal that asks them to reach. Growth slows not because it must, but because there is no longer a reason to continue. The plant remains exactly where it is, supported by what already holds it, without effort, without resistance. This is how rest looks in the natural world. It is not an action. It is the absence of pressure. When humans struggle to rest, it is often because something is still asking for movement, attention, or response. Plants offer a different example. They respond only to what is present. When the environment softens, they soften with it. A leaf does not think about the next sunrise. It does not rehearse yesterday's heat. It exists entirely within the conditions of the moment, adjusting its internal chemistry, its water balance, its posture, all without awareness. The leaf at rest is not limp or inactive. Its cells are still alive, still exchanging gases, still maintaining balance. Rest for a plant is not emptiness. It is quiet continuity. Roots embody this principle even more deeply. Underground, where light never reaches, roots exist in a constant state of presence. They do not anticipate change. They do not regret past conditions. They respond to gradients of moisture, temperature, and pressure as they exist now. When the soil is dry, growth pauses. When water becomes available, growth resumes. There is no impatience during the pause. The root does not strain against dry earth. It waits, intact, conserving energy, trusting that change will come when it comes. This trust is not belief. It is biological design refined over millions of years. Life learned very early that stillness is not dangerous when the foundation is secure. The human mind often struggles because it does the opposite. It reaches forward into imagined futures and backward into remembered pasts, pulling itself out of the present moment where stability already exists. Plants do not leave the present. They cannot. Their awareness, if it can be called that, is entirely distributed through their tissues, responding locally, continuously, without narrative. When a plant bends in the wind, it does not wonder how long the wind will last. It bends, then returns. When cold arrives, metabolism slows. When warmth returns, it resumes. Nothing is interpreted, nothing is dramatized. The response is always proportional to the condition. Breathing follows a similar pattern in plants and people when effort is removed. Plants exchange gases through tiny openings that open and close automatically in response to humidity, light, and internal water pressure. No central control is needed. When conditions are dry, pores close slightly to conserve moisture. When conditions are gentle, they open again. Human breathing becomes difficult only when it's watched too closely. When attention loosens, breath finds its own depth and rhythm. Like a plant, the body already knows how to regulate itself when it is not being overridden by thought. There is a moment in every day when plants shift from outward engagement to inward maintenance. Photosynthesis slows, water movement changes, energy is redirected toward repair and balance. This happens quietly, without any visible signal. From the outside, the plant looks the same. Inside, countless small adjustments are taking place, restoring equilibrium. The mind can enter a similar phase when it stops trying to manage itself. Thoughts do not need to be silenced. They only need to lose urgency. When attention is no longer feeding them, they begin to drift, the way clouds thin when wind slows. Plants are rooted not because they are trapped, but because rootedness allows complexity to remain stable. A tree can support an enormous canopy because its base does not move. The mind often feels unstable because it is constantly uprooted, pulled from one idea to another. Stability does not come from control. It comes from anchoring attention gently in what is already present. Sensations like weight, warmth, and contact with surfaces are the mind's equivalent of soil. They are reliable. They do not change quickly. When awareness settles there, mental movement naturally slows. Plants never confuse stillness with failure. A dormant seed is not incomplete. It is whole, carrying everything it needs, waiting for the right conditions. Waiting is not wasted time in the plant world. It is preparation without anxiety. Seeds have remained viable for centuries beneath soil, ice, and sediment, holding life in suspension without fear. When warmth and moisture return, growth resumes as if no time has passed. This teaches a quiet lesson. Pauses do not erase potential. They preserve it. Even growth itself is gentle when observed closely. A stem elongates by fractions of a millimeter, cells expanding through water pressure rather than force. Leaves unfurl slowly, guided by internal rhythms rather than sudden movement. Nothing snaps into place. Everything eases into form. The mind often tries to reach rest abruptly, becoming frustrated when it does not arrive immediately. Plants show that transition is gradual. There is no clear boundary between movement and rest, between effort and ease. One blends into the other without a signal. In forests, the collective effect of millions of plants settling into evening creates a tangible shift. Air cools, moisture gathers, sound softens, even animals respond, slowing movement, finding shelter. This change is not commanded. It emerges naturally from countless individual organisms responding to the same fading light. The human nervous system evolved within these environments. It recognizes the pattern instinctively. When external stimulation decreases, internal activity follows. The difficulty arises only when artificial demands interrupt this ancient rhythm. Plants do not rehearse survival strategies while resting. They do not plan how to grow tomorrow. Their preparation is structural, not mental. Thick bark, flexible stems, stored energy, deep roots. These are built over time so that during rest nothing needs to be considered. The mind often carries its preparation as thought instead of structure, replaying scenarios repeatedly. When thought quiets, it can trust that preparation has already happened, encoded in memory, skill, and experience. A leaf at rest is not doing nothing. It is maintaining internal balance, repairing microscopic damage, redistributing resources. Rest is active in ways that are simply invisible. Sleep works the same way. The mind does not shut off. It reorganizes, it integrates, it restores. Plants do not fear this inward turning. They enter it daily. Seasonal dormancy is simply this process extended over months. The organism contracts gently, conserving energy, trusting that the cycle will continue. Letting the mind become like a plant is not about imagining greenery or copying behavior. It is about adopting the same relationship with time and effort, responding instead of anticipating, adjusting instead of forcing, allowing stillness to arise when stimulation fades. Nothing needs to be completed, nothing needs to be solved. Life continues beneath awareness whether attention is present or not. Roots still move water, cells still exchange gases, balance is maintained without supervision. As attention softens, it may become less interested in following thoughts to their conclusions. They can appear and dissolve without narrative. Sensations become more prominent because they require no interpretation. The mind begins to behave less like a problem solver and more like a landscape, holding whatever passes through without reaction. This is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. A forest does not become empty when animals rest. It becomes quieter, not absent. Plants do not notice when they fall asleep. They simply slow until movement blends seamlessly into stillness. There is no moment of transition worth marking. The mind can follow this example. It does not need to recognize the instant when sleep begins. It only needs to stop interfering with the process that already knows how to happen. Like growth, like rest, like breathing, sleep is an outcome of the right conditions, not an achievement. Nothing in the natural world ever really says goodbye. It simply continues quietly, whether it is being watched or not. Long after attention drifts and awareness softens, the work of the planet goes on in the same steady way it always has. Leaves remain open or closed as the air tells them to be. Roots continue their slow exchange with the soil. Water moves upward and downward, guided by forces older than memory. Even now, as everything becomes softer, the green world does not pause to mark the moment. It holds its balance without ceremony. This is perhaps the most comforting thought of all, that nothing depends on staying awake, that life does not require supervision. The planet does not need to be managed in order to keep turning gently beneath you. Somewhere nearby, a tree is still releasing moisture into the air, one molecule at a time. Somewhere beneath the ground, fine root hairs are touching mineral grains, exchanging sugars for nutrients, continuing conversations that began long before any human language existed. Moss remains settled against stone, holding moisture patiently. Seeds rest where they have fallen, carrying entire futures in stillness, without urgency or fear. None of this asks anything of you. It does not need your attention to function. It does not require understanding or effort. It simply continues. There is something deeply reassuring in that. So much of human life is filled with signals that demand response. Messages, sounds, responsibilities, unfinished thoughts. The green world offers a different rhythm, one where nothing is calling out, nothing is pulling forward. It shows that existence can be sustained through quiet repetition rather than constant action, through patience rather than control. Plants do not thank the soil for holding them, nor do they apologize for resting. They exist within a relationship of mutual support that does not need acknowledgement to remain intact. The ground supports roots. Roots stabilize soil. Leaves shade the earth. The cycle completes itself without commentary. You're part of this same system, even when it doesn't feel that way. The air you breathe has passed through countless leaves. The calm you feel has been shaped by landscapes that evolved to soften extremes, to make space habitable, to create conditions where life can settle instead of struggle. When thoughts begin to thin and attention loosens its grip, it is not something being lost. It is something being returned. Returned to the slower pace that shaped human bodies long before artificial light and constant noise existed. Return to a rhythm that does not measure worth by productivity or alertness. Plants never ask whether they have done enough for the day. They respond to the light while it is present, and when it fades, they allow that to be enough. This is not resignation, it is trust. Trust that cycles will continue. Trust that rest is not an interruption, but a necessary part of continuity. Gratitude does not need to be spoken aloud to exist. It can be felt as a soft easing, a recognition that nothing more is required right now. If there is a sense of appreciation, it can simply be for the fact that the world is capable of holding itself steady. That forests regulate air whether anyone walks beneath them or not. That roots anchor landscapes even when no one notices the ground beneath their feet. That ancient trees continue adding rings quietly, recording time without reacting to it. There is an invitation here, but it is not one that demands response. It is simply an open door. The green world will be here again whenever attention returns. Leaves will still be unfolding and folding back. Seeds will still be waiting. Soil will still be holding warmth and memory. There is no need to hold on to any of this consciously. You can let it remain in the background like a steady presence that does not fade when eyes close. Plants continue their work in darkness just as reliably as they do in light. Photosynthesis pauses, but respiration continues. Growth slows, but maintenance remains. Life shifts inward without disappearing. This is how the planet carries itself through the night, quietly, patiently, without effort. The same ground that supports roots supports you now, whether you're aware of it or not. The same air shaped by forests moves gently around you. The same rhythms that guide leaves and stems guide the body toward rest when stimulation fades. Nothing needs to be done to earn this. It is already happening. The world is built to hold life safely through periods of stillness. Even the absence of thought is supported here. There is no empty space where something should be, only a widening quiet where everything that matters continues on its own. If awareness drifts, that is fine. If it stays present, that is fine too. Plants do not prefer one state over another. They adjust to what is given. The invitation to return is always open, not as a request, but as a reassurance. This place of calm does not disappear when you leave it. The stories written in leaves and soil do not need to be remembered to remain true. They will be here again, unchanged, ready to be noticed or ignored without consequence. And for now, there is permission to let go completely, to allow attention to settle where it naturally wants to go, to trust that the quiet systems of the planet are still turning, still breathing, still holding everything together without any need for intervention. The green world does not watch to see if you are awake. It does not wait for acknowledgement. It simply continues, and in doing so, it makes room for rest.